Welcome everybody. Joined here tonight with Big Jeff. How's it going?
Hey, it's going all. It's going all right. I think you and I are both sharing the disappointment of the Court of Appeals decision after being remanded twice. It's a lot of people are trying to stay optimistic about it, but I don't think anybody isn't feeling the gut punch of it.
Yeah, it was
I think we're all,
difficult reading that because I just had a bad feeling the whole time, the whole days leading up to it. As soon as I found out it was going to be released.
yeah, I had a bad feeling about it, and my bad feeling about it was because um, the Sawinski when they said that they were going to rule on everything, it just seemed to me that positive they would have just came out with it for Stephen. They just would have came out with it. The only reason that there was a delay with the negative ruling was because they had to give further guidance on what to do about the Sawinski citing. So that to me that was what I couldn't think of a way to explain the delay if there was a positive thing, if it was positive for Stephen. Uh, and so I just really had a bad feeling. I mean, that's not a lawyerly opinion, but that's just the way I felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and maybe maybe it is that you always worry about the worst thing is going to happen. This is about the worst thing that probably could have happened, especially after being remanded twice. You know what I mean? You guys screwed up on the bones. Send that back. I mean, why would they send it back just to say it's not exculpatory? It just doesn't make any sense. I get different judges, I guess, but um, it doesn't to me it just doesn't add up. The court twice and then all of a sudden said, yeah, okay, well we probably I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, why did they send it back? And a lot of them include everything if they're just going to do what they did here.
Yeah, just stinks of Wisconsin corruption in my mind.
Definitely.
So that's why I think her, maybe the lawyers have already weighed in on what her next step ought to be, Zellner, but my opinion, she ought to go to the Supreme Court next and treat the Court of Appeals the same way she treated Judge Sukowitz, saying, they erred in their decision because of this, and this. They can be as wrong as Judge Sukowitz. She can appeal. She can appeal that decision as well. They say that this is the level where she sees the most action.
Mm-hmm.
I hear, I read Tracy Strunsey's tweet just like you did that said that the Supreme Court's probably going to reject they might not even hear the case. So does she take this all the way to federal court before she um, appeal federally before she opens up the new motion? That's kind of what I would do. And the clock is ticking. It just wrangles me the fundamental unfairness of the procedural bar kicking in because she dismissed the pro se motion, right? Isn't that really the nature of it? I mean, if Travis were here, he could tell us, but
Yeah.
I think that's the real reason why he's procedurally barred. But how many how many people who are innocent sitting in jail who have no choice because they have no money, that they don't have a giant documentary behind them, think they're innocent, say, I'm going to file an appeal with this and this.
Mm-hmm.
By myself, and they're not lawyers, and it's written poorly, and it's not it's not gonna go anywhere. But what else can you do to have that dismissed and to dismiss that and then all of a sudden be procedurally barred? That that doesn't it's like when we were on with McGill and everybody else. I said it depends on what kind of country you want to live in. And do you want to live in a country where they're kind of applying the letter of the law, despite being able to look at it and saying, look, there's a fundamental unfairness here, that but can't we make a judgment on what's fair rather than try to adhere to the letter of the law? Because imagine if I was in this situation, right? That's what you always have to say to yourself. This could be me. And I don't think they did that. I think they want to keep him in. They want to keep him in. And there's some real wrongs here. Right? There are some real wrongs. We talked about the a couple of them before. To me, the biggest one is the Veely CD, right? Kind of what that means is, say, and the guilters out there, they're going, oh, fuck Steven, right? The justice is served. But what that means is that the cops can prepare a work product that could give the defense a lead,
Mm-hmm.
right, on something, and it's perfectly okay to bury it. Perfectly okay to bury it. It doesn't matter, and okay, yeah, Steven, screw him, but okay, that's what power you want to give the cops, really? I don't. I really don't think so. They are really treading on thin ice with the precedent that they're creating, because believe me, people are going to latch onto this. Oh, I can do that. Yeah, they learn what they can do, and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of thing that bothers me in the big picture. Of course, I feel very much for Stephen and his family and Brendan as well, just because of this injustice. And I apologize for talking about the bigger picture before I address that. But
No, it's all good.
yeah. So anyway, that's a lot. That's a lot to process in 30 seconds. I guess. Sorry for going on and on, but that's
No,
sort of
it's
how I
all
feel
good.
about it.
Thoughts on the Colburn? You heard about that, right?
Actually, I saw some brief traffic on it, but I know you follow it very closely, so I'd love to hear your update on it.
Well, it's going to a trial April 2022,
Wow.
unless they can come to some kind of agreement before that.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't come to some kind of settlement before that date, there will be an evidentiary hearing, a pretrial, the whole shebang.
Yeah. Don't forget an appeal, because there's going to be one of those too. No matter which way it goes. So if we think we're going to get resolution, then I kind of doubt it, unless it's some small judgment, and Netflix just decides to pay it. But I really think that Netflix has to sort of fight this tooth and nail, because they've done a lot of documentaries, and they haven't put everyone forward in the best light at the time, and anybody could come forward. You see that one they did about the elevator, the girl who drowned in the water tank?
Yeah, the Delphi murder. Yeah.
Delphi, yeah, yeah. Even though even though in the end they put everyone back into a light of innocence, as they were going along, people kind of, oh well, you really, in this episode made me look like a real murderer, and my reputation suffered because of it, because not everybody saw the next episode. That they could sue for that. And Netflix just can't have this continuing pile of suits against them, and they can't pay out $10 million, or else everybody and his brother is going to bring a suit. So that's the way I think about the Netflix thing. Coburn, yeah, defamation law. I don't know. I'm bad enough at the law in Stephen's case. I've been looking at that for 3 years, and don't ask me to comment about defamation law.
Yeah. Well, they say it takes what, about a decade for exoneree to be exonerated, and if you technically look at it, Keller took this case in 2017.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so he's actually near the mean time, right?
he's only 4 years in.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's tough. I saw you mentioned the before the live went on, the tweet with Mark Hodnott, and he does seem to be staying positive. Maybe it's just a face for the outside world, to keep his supporters, to give his supporters some kind of hope as well. He's way tougher than me. I couldn't be. I would find it very difficult to be positive in his situation. So it would be perfectly understandable if he were sort of over the top depressed, just because Zellner may not be deterred, but she had to have felt the gut punch of this.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us have.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think? I mean, you know, one of the most deflating things to me was Tracy Struensee's tweet. She's uh, what's almost a lawyer or practically a lawyer or I forget
Basically,
what basically a lawyer. I'm not trying to defame her, but she has a good understanding.
she's got a YouTube channel, Scales and Injustice.
Justice, yeah, and she has a good understanding of the law, right? I mean, she is not she's not a fake lawyer at all, and her tweet was along the lines of. Zellner has two options: the Supreme Court, or a new motion, and both of those are going to be denied. That was her tweet. I'm like, oh, that's what she thinks. What hope is there? And that stands in
Who
contrast to
knows?
Zellner's tweet. Yeah,
Maybe Zellner expected this to happen, and she's got more. We don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not a lie. I wish our friend Travis were here because what he would like, what his advice to Zellner would be. It seems to me, my advice to Zellner is to take it to the Supreme Court. Did we talk about? I know we talked about this before the live. Did we talk about it during the live yet? I can't even remember. That's how fried my brain is.
Mm-hmm.
Because at least right now, there's still some hope that some of the things in her motion are not procedurally barred. I understand that the Court of Appeals said they're procedurally barred, but so did Judge Sukowitz said they're procedurally barred, and her appeal to the Court of Appeals was, hey, these things shouldn't be procedurally barred. She can make the same appeal to the Supreme Court that, hey, these things aren't procedurally barred. Take a look at some of the fundamental fairness issues, if you don't mind, please. But if she puts this down, you can only have one motion in Wisconsin open at a time, right? So if she closes this motion out to submit the Sawinski stuff, then it's gone forever, right? And she can. I don't think she can ever come back to say, oh, by the way, I don't think I should be. So if she puts it down, I don't.
It's now all on the record. So yeah.
I would want to keep it open, and of course, the counter argument to that is that the Sawinski thing might be a better thing. And last time I looked, Steven's not getting any younger, right?
Definitely not.
I'm not either. I looked in the mirror the other day. I said, you know what? Jeez, I look old. So yeah, so I think there might be a smartest legal way to go and a smartest practical way to go. And I'm not sure which that is, but it just wrangles me to have to put that stuff down, right? Because her options are the Supreme Court, and I think she could go to the Federal Court of Appeals after that, right? To say that Wisconsin, hey, feds, Wisconsin is violating its own laws. That's basically that was Brendan's path. Right?
Yeah, basically she could take the Brendan's path, take it that way they did.
Yeah. And Brendan's case isn't based on evidence, so he's got no new appeal. So even if Zellner exhausts the current path based on the current items in her current motion, she still has the Sawinski path to refile a brand new motion based on new evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But if but that, I mean, how long is that going to take? I mean, is it going to take another year to do the Supreme Court and then take another year to do the federal court? And, tick-tock, so you have to understand the credibility of the Sawinski. They said something in the brief that the Sawinski would have to pass a certain level of evidentiary muster. And there's just a lot of talk that, why is it so long from now? Is it really going to pass that? I know what the answer is going to be out of Judge Sukowitz. We don't we don't have to we don't need a magic 8 ball to predict what she's going to say to the Sawinski motion. It doesn't pass that muster. Mm-hmm. So we're back at the Court of Appeals, right? Again, and so you don't want to piss them off too much. So is there a I don't know. I'm kind of deflated, to be honest with you. I don't know what I can do to help at this point. She can't put anything new in the motion. So what, I'm happy to sit back and support on Twitter, but I mean, is there really a point to active research at this point? Or, we've been so many smart people like yourself have been looking so hard for so long. Are we really uncovering anything of value? And there was the bones dismissed. That was probably one of the best things. And there have been a few other things that we know that Zellner has reached out to, us researchers about. And
The thing is, though, when they review things, they're looking at the facts of the court that was previously, like, for his trial. There's, I don't know. It's frustrating because the prosecution misled his defense from day one.
Yep.
And they fought tooth and nail for Dean Strain to even become his lawyer.
Oh yeah. They that Kratz is a scumbag. Everybody knows that. But there's no legal recourse for having an overzealous scumbag as the prosecutor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is an ass. Just by that thing that you just mentioned, why not? Why shouldn't everybody be entitled to their best defense possible?
Yeah, but this all comes back to one person, if you really think about it. Peg.
Yep. That's right. If she hadn't been so intent on, on hiding, the wrongdoings of the '85 case,
Mm-hmm.
then we probably wouldn't be here.
Well, she claims that it was a misidentification by the victim. Not nothing.
Yeah, right.
Not nothing negligent by law enforcement.
Yeah, negligent. If only it were negligent. It was outright malfeasance, right? Outright malfeasance. All you have to do is read her report,
Mm-hmm.
and read the read the release testimony that we crowdfunded, and it's quite obvious that they went out of their way to do bad things. This, if they accidentally did the wrong thing, everybody can forgive somebody for making an honest mistake. They obviously went out of their way to, the stuff with the lineup, the photo, Vogel, Kasurek telling Vogel, don't fuck this up, not letting Arlen Avery speak to his own personal experience, the fact that he was there, saw Stephen with the cement,
Mm-hmm.
Manitowoc County Sheriff Deputy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no, I want to hear from him because that's against the thing. That's against the narrative that we have. Kasurek taking lead investigation on himself when he never does that. That is malfeasance, right? I deliberately did the wrong thing, buried evidence, didn't investigate Gregory Allen, and we have the video of what's his face, the former assistant DA.
Come on, Roar or Griesbach?
Griesbach. We have the video of Griesbach at the at this wrongful conviction conference
in Florida,
where he says, where he says that eventually Penny Bernstein went with the Manitowoc County Police Department to Vogel to say we don't think that it was Stephen Avery.
She kept getting phone calls after Stephen was arrested.
That is not, that is malfeasance. That is deliberately burying evidence to do the wrong thing. I don't have any memory of that. Conveniently forgotten.
Yep, I can't recall.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah. And then you read the Deb Strauss and Amy. What's her last name? I'm losing my mind.
Lehman.
Amy Lehman, and Stephen's lawyers, Walt Kelly, asking them the questions. Oh, did you when you got that answer? Did you follow up on that? For example, Vogel claiming that Gregory Allen was out on on parole in was it Ball County or whatever?
Yeah, Brown.
Brown County. Did did you follow up with him as to why he might have thought that? Where did he see that? Did he call somebody? Oh no, I didn't follow up. I just took his word for it that he thought that was true. I didn't do any further investigation. I didn't need any because that was good enough for
Yeah.
me.
It's just like Judy Dvorak.
Yeah.
They confront her with all the things that she said, and her response is, she looks guilty as all hell.
Oh yeah. That's
All
not
of
my
it.
verbiage.
Yeah. That,
I don't say things like that. That's not me. So yeah, it's so obvious of the malfeasance just piled up. And if yeah, you're right. I mean, if they had owned up to it and sort of settled,
well,
he
it's
wouldn't be.
just very odd that 2 weeks before Teresa Halbach goes missing, Kosurik's attorneys try their best to get him out of doing that deposition.
Yeah.
And they told him,
Yeah,
no, you have to show up.
yeah. I pointed out. I think we did a video, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it was with Linda, where the attorney all of a sudden the attorneys for Vogel are getting very nervous, and they're starting to object to some of the things that are being said. Those attorneys were getting a little nervous in the depositions, trying to counter some of the things. Even that
Mm-hmm.
they were saying Vogel's attorneys were saying, oh no, this is the police, not so they were like trying to shed it away. So I have a feeling that he was ready to flip
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't want any part of it. He knew how deep a shit that
It's
the county was in.
it's a shame we'll never know what would have come if Kosurik would have been depositioned and Vogel.
Yeah.
Would they have brought? Was it kept continued? Would there have been more people named?
Yeah. Well, they would have had massive memory failure like you'd never believe. You would have thought that somebody came surgically stole their brains.
Take Couchet, Peterson, Colborn, Link. Their interviews, they're all trying to point the blame at a different person.
Yeah. I think Vogel might have broke.
And
I mean?
Roar. What does he say? What do you expect me to say? Everything speaks for itself.
So
We got a 50-second audio video clip of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you got to read the transcripts.
You got to read the training. You got to watch the information is in the meta information we have, right? The information that you really need is not in the official narratives. It's not in CASO, right? It's in those depositions. It's in the videos of those depositions. It's in the jail calls.
That's why,
it's in dispatch
like,
calls.
reading the transcript doesn't give you enough justice as to watching somebody answer these questions in real time, because you can see how their demeanor is, how they act. It's very
How
telling.
they squirm.
Same
like worms.
reason why when police interview people, they record it.
They record it. Yep. Good point.
Like, we
Good
got
point.
all these DCI reports, and they're all a rendition of what took place. We have very few pieces of audio interviews that DCI did. You got to tell me they only recorded a certain amount of people's? No, everything was recorded. I mean, the Barb.
Oh, we heard Barb. Barb said.
They
Yeah.
they asked Scott before Barb even got there, do you mind if we record you? And as soon as Barb gets there, she says no. They both said no. And you can hear them turn the recorder on before they even walk in the subway.
Yeah, they didn't give a shit what they said.
They had two plans.
They don't
They were
bark.
going there no matter what. They needed to get that computer. Whether they gave it to her willingly, they had a search warrant already signed.
Yeah.
And then the bullshit, is it okay if we talk to Bobby? Why are you asking permission to talk to an adult?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, because they were probably watching her and seeing what she would do with that information, whether she would call them and say something incriminating. Right? That's probably at least whether they, irrespective of whether Bobby's really involved, that's what they were trying to stimulate.
It's very apparent that Stephen was framed and Brendan was coerced into saying things that did not take place. And they pressured the whole family to turn on him, and they ended up all turning on each other. The family needs to come together and try to figure this shit out if they really want to get Brendan and Stephen out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the family. It's with all that pressure, it's not surprising that there is, that the massive stress has caused some infighting and bad blood and words, and with the unfortunate passing of Dolores, it's just not surprising that things go haywire for a while. They do need to come together. Is there something that they can really do? I mean, that probably is in the dark as anybody else. Minimally,
Talk to KZ.
yeah,
Talk to Kirby.
yeah, yeah.
If you did nothing wrong and you're completely innocent, talk to him. What do you got to lose? Clear your fucking name, unless you're really hiding something. They had no problem talking to the police.
Yeah. They got hauled in. Yeah. So yeah, I don't. It would be if they had something, it would be nice if they turned it over. I'm not sure what they have. I just believe they're as in the dark. This hit them as surprised as anybody else. I don't know. I don't know who killed him, and I'm out of the business of predicting. So
Yep.
I'm just disappointed, and I don't know where to go from here, other than support. Uh, I don't know what more can be researched and found. I think it's successfully buried that whoever killed her did a fabulous job of hiding how they did it, who they
Well,
are.
it's in all the documents they won't release, all the interviews they won't release.
It is aggravating, yes. Now that you've reminded me that that there are Stephen phone calls between he and Jody prior to October 31st that they won't release because most likely because they're exculpatory to Stephen. It's just more aggravating to me. Uh, you know, does Zellner have those phone calls? I don't know. Um,
Your
yeah.
guess is as good as mine. But I can say I was talking to Mark and had him ask Steven some questions. And upon the questions I had him ask Steven, made Steven talk to KZ.
Oh, good, good. I hope.
Because the questions I had asked him baffled him. So that's all I'm going to say.
Good. I'm gonna have to over because I'm curious to know. Um, I mean, is it even possible for Steven to? I mean, we it's almost like we're stuck in time. You know what I mean? We're stuck in time on October 31st, 2005, trying to find out who lived where, who was talking to who was related to who didn't like who.
Well,
We have
that
such
that
a map of
that
Manitowoc County, Wisconsin that
that
it's
brings
like
us to the phone records.
yeah,
You've done a lot of research into that, and where have you got with it?
nowhere.
Why is that?
I don't. I really have what I need. I have all of what I need. It'd be great if I did have everything I needed.
Like
Um,
if they would have took a picture of that audio box phone with the serial number showing.
yeah, we could do something. We could have done something with it, right? We could have subpoenaed the information of who was called, right? Even if we didn't figure out who owned it, we could have figured out, what was the last text sent out, or what was the address or the phone number of the last text that was sent, the last few texts. Who was the last call made to? Who was the last call from? There's a lot of things that we could have found out about that phone without even necessarily having to know whose it was. Um, and we might have been able to find out whose it was if they didn't really, if they made one little mistake, right, and filled the minutes back up with a credit with a one of those cards that they bought with a credit card, right? So there's a lot of things that you can, you know, there can be there's a forensic trail there if you were willing to follow it, but completely buried. And as far as
Well,
I know, that
why
phone doesn't even exist anymore.
why you suggest do you suggest that when they obtained Teresa's cell phone records, they only asked for her pings?
Right. Why not the texts?
Why not everything?
Yep. Why not everything?
I mean,
They could have
they
asked for that.
they relied
It was
on
available.
whatever Ryan, Kelly, and Scott gave Wiegert, Lemieux, and then he turned that over to Dietering. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if the FBI had approached Singular Wireless and asked it's quite possible that the texts themselves might not have been available, but the metadata about the text should have been available. Like this many texts came from this person, were sent or to this number. This many texts were sent to that information was probably available at that time. Had they been willing to, pursue it from the law enforcement perspective, and probably federal law enforcement might have been required, but they would have been able to get it. And at least I didn't even hear, if they told me, oh, they tried, but it was the sale of Singular to AT&T and that information was wiped out. Okay, that I can understand. But that didn't happen I don't think that happened in November, right? So if they had been on the ball, they could have got it, right? And I understand now at that time this was a sort of a law enforcement forensic technique that was sort of in development. So, but they were smart enough to ask for the pings. And texting was $1 billion business. I mean, did they? I don't see in any of their subpoenas did they even ask. They just asked for. Why didn't they even ask?
Well, night of third, they just asked for all her cell phone pings, and then they tried getting the rest of the info, and then they had to apply for another search warrant to get her phone records.
Yep. Yeah, and they didn't give it to them the first time, right?
No. They had to submit.
They had to resubmit. The exigent one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and they didn't think. And why didn't they take a picture of the Bradley check text? Oh, I texted her. Do you want to see it? I would love to know what phone number that text went to.
Yep.
Did it really go to her phone number, or the one that we're well aware of? I would love to see it, and we will never know.
Like I've gone through queso report and timestamped what the audio we have is, and for the most part, it's pretty accurate. Until the car is found.
Yeah.
Then shit starts getting weird.
Yep.
I mean, you got multiple people calling in, telling them to look at Bradley, and he's very forthcoming based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
You
got the intern who called to say, well, I interned for this guy named Tom Pierce, and boy, was he a hot-headed, son of a gun. And and Pierce is spinning his own yards, right? He's spinning his own. Oh, she told me this was her last day at Auto Trader. Oh, you know what else she told me? That she's getting phone calls from, from a boyfriend who's stalking her.
Could have been text messages too.
Yeah, nobody else is saying that but Pierce, right? He's spinning a yarn, right? Trying to.
And he tried interjecting himself in. He calls a few times. His initial phone contact is when he talks to Lemieux on the night of the 3rd, around midnight, well, the morning of the 4th.
Yeah. He's the one who called Therese's mother, Karen Hallback. Have you seen her?
Mm-hmm.
I know. So I mean, maybe he's not a Denny suspect because he's got no motive, but just all these people that just did not get investigated. It's just, I don't know. I'm deflated. It gets the blood boiling again for sure. But what is there that we can do at this point? Wait for we don't even know what way she's going. Has she said?
No, I haven't heard anything. Just the tweet that it's not the end and there's many avenues to discover. But until they. My question, well, what does KZ have access to? We know she can't get the RAV. She couldn't get the bones. They wouldn't give her anything that she wanted to scientifically retest. But does she have access to these interviews?
I don't know.
These phone calls? These jail calls? I mean, how many jail calls do we have? Over 1,000? And they won't release like 9 of them?
Yeah, what's in those?
Between the time he's arrested and, well, Steven stopped using his cell phone and started communicating over payphones. You see him on the news interview on the 8th.
Yeah.
I don't know. I sit here all the time just running scenarios through my head.
Yeah, the guy got the screw job. The only person who got a worse screw job is Brendan Dassey, right? Those two got the screw job of all times out of this case.
Just need to
They knew who they wanted.
continue FOIAing for things. There's a new sheriff in Manitowoc.
Oh
But
yeah.
but even Zellner tried requesting for the same thing all of us have, and they say they don't have a record of it. That's what it makes me wonder if Jerry Buting would have requested all the audio they had instead of what Remaker reviewed to prepare for his testimony, would things be
Oh
differently?
yeah, just that one perhaps slip of the tongue by Jerry, and they interpreted it in a very lawyerly way that it wasn't everything, it was just that. Yeah. Should ask for everything. I agree. I didn't think of that. You said that before, and it didn't really grok with me what you meant. So just now, yeah, yeah,
It's not always what people say; it's how they say it,
yeah.
and
It
vice
is.
versa.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I definitely going to need some time to recover from this. I don't know about you. Um, you taking a break at all?
I have been.
Yeah. I mean, work's been killing me. So I mean, I haven't had a chance to pay much attention since the last live. I really haven't done much of anything. Um, and this is not motivating me to get back to researching. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
Um,
like I said, it's just a checkpoint, speed bump, pit stop, whatever you want to call it.
yeah. Any comments in the chat? Any questions that people are asking?
Let me look. I hardly ever pay attention. I try to pay attention to this. Let's see.
It's
Have
hard. It's
you
hard.
have you looked into or heard the theory about the Tracks Tavern? I'm not even going to talk about that. That's Lori Bennett case. It has nothing to do with Stephen Avery. That shit happened in Milwaukee. I've been to the park where they were at. Been to the tavern. Went inside. It's not far from my house. I wish my dad was alive because he'd have more to say about that. And Lori Bennett, the guy that helped her escape prison from Chichita Correctional Institute in Wisconsin, just so happens one of my friends, his father, Dominic, is the one that helped her escape. I've researched that case before I even touched this Avery case. I've also looked into JFK. I mean, yeah. There's things that I researched that I can't talk about. I want to, but it might not end out good for me.
You've been advised not to share. Yeah, I hear you. That was the only question. That was an awful lot to say about when you start with. I'm not going to say anything about that. That was an awful lot of nothing.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There's more cases out there than Steven. There's injustice everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just think if Laura Demos and if they wouldn't have did what they did, Stephen Avery, I wouldn't be talking to you, Jeff.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I wouldn't know who the hell you are. I
Your
wouldn't
life
know.
would
I
be.
wouldn't know. I wouldn't have never met Eric Jose.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
Yeah,
boy,
God.
he's rolling over it right now.
Yep. It's coming up on a year in 2 days.
Is it really? Oh my God! Is it a year?
Yep, August
Oh
1st.
shit! Wow. I had no idea. Jeez. Oh, don't blink. Wow.
Looking
So
back from when I first got involved in this case, I can't believe it's been that long.
yeah.
And all the time that I have put into this and continue to put into this. Like I said, I chose to do all this.
Yep. Yeah, you've been a warrior. You have definitely put in more time than anybody I know, doing doing the gruntiest hard work of going through that audio. That audio is hard to listen to. And even listening to it the first 2-3 times. I've listened to some of it, not all of it, but a couple times, and you can't even make heads or tails out of it. The first 2 times you go through it, and it's not until you know you've been through it many times that you start to be able to recognize people's voices, number one, and then you have to start picking up on the lingo, and then you have to be able to start hearing through the cracks and pops, and be able to correlate it back to what's going on, perhaps from your knowledge of cats. It's the gruntiest hard work that anybody's done on this case, and I would hate to think that it's for nothing. I don't want to think that at all. I mean,
That's
I
why
think we have a lot of insight.
I've been using all the evidence that I have access to, try to timestamp the calls that are happening in Manitowoc, because none of it's timestamped.
Yeah.
None of it.
Yeah, and what they were able to get away with from hiding that evidence of it. How many calls do we have from the on from Manitowoc on the 3rd, on the 4th?
That's the thing. There's two lines. The first line is from the 3rd to the 5th. Here, I'll bring the documents up. Hold on.
It's where, I mean, we learned about the pile. We learned about the buckets full.
Okay.
From that.
The 683-4201 number, it's got 49 calls. It's from the 3rd to the 5th. No audio for the 4th. So it's the 3rd and the 5th.
Yeah.
The second line we have is the 4202 number. It goes from the 3rd to the 12th. No audio for the 4th. None of it's timestamped. Then we also have the radio transmissions for 11.3 and then 11.5 to 11.12. But it's not timestamped. You can pick up on when things are happening because the dispatcher, when it's morning time, they'll say good morning. Sometimes they say good afternoon. Sometimes they say good evening. And then it's what you hear in the back of the calls. Like, there's a dispatch call, Green Bay, where Teresa bought her car from, calls Calumet County Dispatch to talk about there's a bunch of the customers were being stalked by somebody. Well, you can hear part of that conversation in Manitowoc's audio.
Oh.
Calumet's timestamped. So now we know when that call happened.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some suspicion about where certain people were at certain times, especially around the time the vehicle was found, right?
Oh, like, for instance,
Third.
the most infamous day, 11/7. We have the audio from Calumet. It's timestamped. We have the audio from Manitowoc. It's not. Based upon, I noticed on the photos I was looking at, this was just a couple of days ago, when Colborne and Link and Tyson are collecting weapons, they're writing down what time they collected it at. So we can pinpoint when they left that area and went to Cuss Road.
Yep.
I mean, I've been working on things that just, I don't know, I had to take a step back. I got a lot of things going on, but everything turned out for the best.
Awesome.
And now I can get back to same old, same old.
Yeah.
Running in circles.
For me, I think it's time for a little break, and I'd like to understand where Zellner's going next, and if she's going to, it's going to be telling, right? I think if she goes, if she drops the current motion and goes, straight to the Sawinski motion, I think it's because she's going for kind of a Hail Mary. And let's face it, Steven's not getting any younger. How old is he now? Is he? He's just a few years older than me.
Yeah.
57, something, 58, 60,
50, like 59.
59, yeah. I mean, he's had his whole life stolen from him. It's corrupt.
I said it earlier, no amount of money could ever compensate for what they did to him. He lost his life.
Everything. Got arrested, 2 days after his twin sons were born? Days?
2 days. We see that picture of him with Jody and all the other. That was either a day before or.
No, it's just it just makes me sick to my stomach to think about it.
Yeah.
And then Brendan being just there, throwaway collateral damage because they needed to attack Steven's alibi when they needed to attack it. I'm just disgusted.
Mm-hmm.
Thoroughly disgusted. I just can't think about it right now.
I know what you mean. Definitely know what you mean.
Yeah.
But we can't let this little. It's not little. It's huge thing stop. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. But I guess we'll end it here.
Yeah, it's hard to be positive, but we just got to toughen up, right? That's really what it is at this point. Tough. Suck it up. Take a break. Suck it up, and then press on.
Well, you did mention that you were working on something with Brendan.
Yeah.
How's that going? Did you stop or what?
I started. I have a whole list in a Microsoft Word document of all the phone calls that track through. That basically start with Steven's phone call to Dolores, where he's all excited because another he sees on the news that somebody gets out of prison from a property bond.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's all excited about that, right? And then it's just they just follow the bouncing ball and watch the dates. And as March 1st approaches, what did they do?
Well,
right?
I'm going to encourage you to at least finish that before you take a break, because I know exactly what you're going on. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's everybody else watching that might not.
They want to see it. They want to see it. Yeah,
if I could tell y'all what's really going on in my head most of the time, you'd probably be baffled. I try to make sense of it, but I'm taking into consideration everything that I've learned from day one. And after the Sawinski shit came out, made me really take a step back and reevaluate everything.
Yeah, except for the corruption of law enforcement, right? Because we have the DCI report. So they go out and ask They go out and ask him, well, "What about this paper? Why are they asking about that exact paper?"
Yep.
Why?
you got to remember, Stephen was very, very, very inquired about Brian talking to his boss. Yep. Where did Brian work? Where's Brian's girlfriend work?
That paper.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. Not his boss. His girlfriend's dad.
His girlfriend's dad. Yes.
Which would have been Skowinski's boss.
Yep. Very interesting. So I will finish that. I do need work to die down a little bit because I'm hoping that will happen soon. I've been hoping that for the last 3 months, 6 months. And it just keeps on getting worse. It's usually around August, September is when it picks up because the fiscal year rolls over October 1st, and so that's usually it gets ugly around that time. So and it's ugly now, so I can only imagine what's going to happen in August and September. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to do that. You're right. I said I was going to do that. I should do that, and hopefully that will make some people who really haven't had the time to listen to the phone calls help them understand why they did this to Brendan. What were they so nervous about?
I listened to them phone calls sometimes 3 times, 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Because I'd listen to it, take notes, then go back, listen to it again, make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I'd record the video, and then listen to it to make sure, yeah.
Is that what you thought it said?
Well, basically, a lot. 37,000 audio files just for Calumet alone. And I've been through them several times. People ask me questions all the time. It's sad, but I can typically find something relatively quickly.
That is sad.
Like they'll ask you, like, when did this phone call happen? And
Yeah, I saw that in Discord. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, on the topic of that video that I'm probably that we'll release on your channel at some point, there is no doubt in my mind that Brendan is a victim of their failing case against Steven. They're laughing and they got nothing. They got nothing.
Look at the first question we could ask him when they're in the high school interview or when they're at Trivers PD on the 27th. Ask them a simple question. So, what happened on the 31st? And what Brendan says, it seems like he's been told what to say. And he says so much, Uyghur's like, hold on, slow down. Let's
Right.
push this back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we got Fox
When
Hills.
is he ever communicative either? Right? He's like, that's his normal answer. So they primed him up for that answer. Brendan.
I just hope whoever does have access to talking to Brendan, they ask him these questions someday.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, I saw that there's a special coming on. I don't know if it's a series or a special about kids that were convicted as juveniles, but convicted as adults. When they were juveniles, and asking the question: Have they done enough time? Are we really contributing to society by keeping them in prison? So,
well,
I wonder if they're going to talk to Brendan or Laura Nyrider or somebody like that.
Are you aware of the Slender Man case here that happened in Wisconsin? The two girls that stabbed their friend in the woods.
Oh yeah.
One of them appealed their sentence and they overturned it, and she's going to be released in I think maybe a year. She's currently in a mental hospital.
What grounds did she use to appeal?
She wasn't the one that actually stabbed her.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep.
Just party to a crime.
Yep.
Oh, that's a messed up case. I'm thankful the girl she survived. My daughter went to the same school.
Wow.
Lived in
There was a Dateline, I think, from last year where there was a mentally challenged kid that recently got released. I think it was in Virginia because Terry McAuliffe ended up pardoning the kid.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch that interview with the cop, it was the same thing. It was the exact same thing, where the kid says, "Look, just so I can go home, I'm going to agree with you. I did. Can I go home now? Can I get my meds now? And they called that a confession.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit more confrontational than Brendan was. Brendan, I'll say what you want without sort of fighting back. This guy was, he was, at least when he was talking, was telling him I'm lying right now. No, you're not. You're telling the truth. No, I'm lying. I just want to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And tell you what I think you need to hear to get me out of here. And oh my God. I mean that. We know
the truth. We know the truth, Jeff. You just need to tell us. Yeah. We already know. Just tell us, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. The truth is, I need pizza.
Well, thank you for joining me, and
well, thank you for having me. I know I haven't been very good about being on the Discord lately, but thank you for having me.
No problem. Well, I'm sure they look forward to seeing what you have about the Brendan situation leading up to the March 1st.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Y'all have a good night, and I'll see ya when I see ya.